Taurus, welcome to your New Year's reading for 2023. Let's get started and see what energy is surrounding Taurus for the new year. Taurus, Sun, Moon, and Rising. Keeping in mind these are general readings and may not resonate for everyone, so make sure to check out your other placements because you could have messages in those readings as well. All right, my friends, let's get started for Taurus. What is the energy around the new year 2023 for Taurus, Sun, Moon, and Rising? Ooh, that came out quick. Throat chakra. Taurus, you're going to be speaking your personal truth. Your communication in 2023 is being highlighted. Interesting. Okay, we also see the water card. Speaking of your emotions and purity. Bottom of the deck is winter. So this is a time where your energy is sort of gathering its strength for the new year. It's changing. It's evolving. Winter is this energy. When we see this card, this kind of guides us to that time where we slow down. We become more introspective. We are with ourselves on a deep level to understand ourselves. And I feel like that makes a lot of sense considering that, you know, you're really, the throat chakra is really being highlighted for you in 2023, where this is your speech center where you speak your truth or you don't speak your truth, but perhaps you're being guided to do so in 2023, where your communication, your correspondence to yourself, the narrative you say to yourself, the narrative you say to others about yourself, the way you speak and give correspondence to the universe, where are you saying things like I can't, or I won't, or I hate, or what is the language? That is important. That is an important consideration for you in 2023. What is the language that you're using to correspond about yourself and outwardly to the universe? Very interesting. Now we're also seeing this water card and this purity card. And it feels to me like your emotions are going to be what you speak about in 2023. It's almost like you're going to step into a time where you're really communicating your truth about how you feel. And that might be something that you're not doing right now in 2022, but it feels like whatever 2022 has sort of led you to in terms of your experience, it's brought you to a place that you now feel the importance of communicating about your feelings and about your sort of emotions, and where you feel acknowledged and where you don't feel acknowledged, where you feel you've processed emotion and where you feel you haven't processed emotion. That's also why this winter card is so interesting, because it's very introspective. And so Taurus, it feels like this is a different experience for you in the sense of you might even find yourself overwhelmed, like when the water is rising, right? If you can imagine yourself in an area where the water is rising, imagine that water rising as your emotions rising to the surface. It can be overwhelming to have so many things come up. And I feel like that's where the energy of your year ahead is bringing all of this stuff to the surface. And that purity card that you also received here is an interesting one to go along with this, because, it may seem random, the moments of emotion that you're feeling, that you might be thinking about things even from the distant past coming to the surface. And it's an interesting time here of you to sort of not label or judge anything as good or bad, but to just allow things to come up for you to reflect on them, which is what that winter card is. So seeing this purity card is really a time with sort of this innocent energy, this opportunity to gain a better understanding of all of the things that make up the moment, and allow for different choices to be made here. It's interesting. It's almost a time where you have to learn to trust your instincts, and you might feel like there are certain things that are tricky to not judge, to not trust your experience. And you might be feeling like you have to sort of label it and judge it as something, when instead let it come to the surface so that you can look at it and sort of look at it without judgment or denial, so that you can sort of navigate through it without this idea of holding on to emotional baggage. These things are coming up and rising to the surface, Taurus, so that you can sort of deal with them and heal them and allow them to no longer create obstacles for you, because they're not reflective of the present moment. These things that are rising to the surface may be very past emotions. They may be coming from a timeline that you're no longer in, but they're still causing a reaction today because they haven't been allowed to come to the surface. But I feel like that's about to change, and you're really going to be talking your truth. You're going to really be speaking your truth here. The contemplation energy of this card shows me that this year ahead is really going to really bring a lot of things to light. Things that need to be brought up to the surface. And often this is something that gets stifled by that day-to-day grind of life, where we sort of start focusing too much on the movie. Sometimes I think of it that way, where, the movie is a symbol. The movie is a metaphor of your energy brought out into a visual. And so if we focus too much on what's happening in the movie, you lose the connection to the fact that you're the director of the movie. And so it's an interesting sort of distinction to be a part of the movie and then to look at the movie from an outside perspective, which is what this card always sort of makes me feel. Like you're looking at the movie not as one of the participants of the movie, but you're trying to understand the movie almost like someone who goes to see the movie, right? Like you're a spectator too. You're an active participant for sure, but if you withdraw yourself from the movie so you don't get too tangled up in the details of the film, you can see the bigger picture, if that makes sense. And I feel like that's what's happening here. There is a stillness being created within you that will allow you to sort of have an opportunity for a new beginning. And the question is, can you allow yourself to feel that present stillness? Are you able to sort of let yourself almost feel a little uncomfortable by watching the movie to try to understand the metaphor of what all of that is trying to say to you about your energy? What your energy is reflecting outwardly is what creates the movie. And sometimes that can be like a moment where you have to pause and go, what? Say that again? But it's your energy that's creating what's happening in the movie. So if you get too tangled up in the storyline as opposed to sort of the director and the story writer, that's where I feel you're headed. You're going to start telling the story in a different way. The movie's going to change here because of all of this reflection you've done, and it's bringing everything to the surface. Wow, very interesting, the beginning of your reading. Let's jump into the tarot cards and see if we can sort of see how this is going to impact everything and where in your life you'll feel that impact. It feels very emotional. Like a very emotional sort of clearing. Yeah, and there's the Two of Cups. So you're about to see eye to eye with yourself here in a new way. And for some of you, this could involve a partner. But, I sometimes see that Two of Cups as really you understanding your emotions and looking at them. Really looking at them and trying to let them come to the surface so that you can understand them and release them. But for some of you, you could be sort of building a new foundation with someone that's built on the truth, your personal truth. And for, if that doesn't click for you, it could be that you're building a foundation that resonates with your personal truth for yourself. You're finally seeing yourself eye to eye, And for others of you that are in a relationship that needs some truth, that you've been reflecting on your relationship, allowing your emotions to come to the surface without judging them, I feel like you're building a new foundation. You don't know where this is all headed yet, though, Taurus. I think this is new territory for you. So there may be an element of fear here, but there's also the element of rejuvenation and rebirth when we see this crustacean coming out of the water. The symbolism here is this idea that he's coming out of the water. He doesn't know what awaits him on land, but here he goes anyway, knowing that it's time for him to leave the water, but not knowing what awaits him on land. That's you. It's time for you to sort of be in this emotional water and then see what changes, what landscape you'll find yourself in. It's a very intuitive card, the moon. This is the divine feminine. This is a time of mystery. This is a time of unforeseen events that it's almost like you have to step into that to experience it. And by allowing everything to come to the surface after a time of introspection and contemplation is very interesting. We see temperance on the bottom of the deck. So it feels like everything in this experience, that only good will come from this, and that everything's working out for your higher self and all is well and you're safe. And it's a time for you to express that orally. Like it's like your communication, your words, your narrative, the way you talk about yourself, the way you talk about your experiences, the way you talk about your feelings coming to the surface. It's changing. It's evolving. And it's asking you for moderation, for patience, for mindfulness, so that you're more conscious of what it is that you're holding emotionally and how you're speaking about it. How are you communicating this outwardly to yourself or to a partner? For some of you, this could be about how you're communicating your needs to a partner in the new year is going to change. That you're going to be more open about how you feel and not afraid to communicate how you feel. Two of Wands in reverse coming out. This came out for Capricorn as well. It's really a turnaround moment where it's like the energy aligns and changes something, almost in a way that seems magical because it's not within your control. It's like this idea of something within your control, you change, and that leads to a ripple. And that ripple ripples out, making many, many changes. So it's like you're creating a ripple. There's a lot of water imagery coming to mind for you, Capricorn, Taurus, in your reading. We see water in the Temperance card. We see water in the Moon card. We see water in these cards here too. And so it's a lot of emotion, processing emotions and speaking about emotions is sort of the theme of what I'm seeing for you in 2023. Now, this foundation that you're building here is interesting. Right now, you might say you feel a bit stuck, but I think that is going to shift in 2023. You're going to see a lot of movement. You might move. By being open and honest and building a foundation for yourself that feels authentic and true, like it really reflects your personal truth, you might realize that you haven't moved, like that you need to make a move in some areas. This foundation building is showing you that you might need to collaborate or work with someone different. You might need to be in a different environment to feel like you're building something. You might feel stuck in some low vibration here because something has to shift. There needs to be a shift here. We're seeing Pisces and Cancer energy. You could have a water sign in your life, or you could have placements in those water signs that are really being highlighted if you look at your chart to see, Let's see here for the moon. Yeah, this is inner child healing. We see the 9 of Wands in reverse with the 6 of Cups. Again, this is telling me that you may be burning out. You may be exhausted or feeling defeated by something, and it's coming to the surface so that you can heal it. And you might not know where it's leading you to, but it's almost like your inner child is like, keep going with that 6 of Cups, saying, we're getting there. We're going to be expressing something here. Don't give up, keep going. That this is something coming to the surface that feels like an innocent, pure sort of expression of yourself. And it's interesting because this is the card that, it's a purity card. And the Six of Cups to me is a time of purity and innocence. And I always associate it with sort of an inner child when I see it in a certain combination. And I feel like that's what's coming through here. It's like the next level of an inner child sort of healing and expression. And again, we see the Six of Swords on the bottom of the deck, where it's sort of this idea of getting distance from things that just make you feel defeated and stuck. And, the Five of Swords, which comes before this, can be a time of feeling defeated and stuck, especially in communication, because these are swords. So it's interesting, the thoughts and the words that have been spoken and sort of used to formulate the path you've been on, it feels like it's just no longer serving you, and you're being guided to get distance from it. I can't help but think that for some of you, this could actually involve a physical move, that you might feel like it's time to make a big shift in your actual environment, and for some of you, it's a more of a metaphor, that you're shifting the narrative, that you're no longer saying or speaking in a certain way about yourself or your experience. It makes me feel like a wounded warrior is now no longer identifying themselves as a victim of anything, but as a warrior, as someone who is sort of stepping into their power in place of feeling powerless. It's very interesting. Now, I've been pulling one oracle card from this deck to see what guidance your higher self wants to say to you specifically. I'm only pulling one card from this deck to see what that guidance is for each sign. So for you, Taurus, I have a feeling like it's going to be something about being authentic, being open to the feelings coming to the surface, and sort of bringing them to a place where you feel empowered to make certain changes or, certain directional decisions. It's interesting. Let's see, for Taurus. Oh, wow. So you've got the karma of Kutuhala. I think I'm saying that correctly. Now, I've been reading these right out of the guidebook because I love the way Alana Fairchild has formulated the messages of this oracle deck. So this card says here, your sacred soul passion is powerful enough to shift the state of your inner reality and your outer experience. So commit to what ignites your heart and don't be dissuaded by anything or anyone. If you are seeking to make a commitment, do so when it truly connects to your heart. Follow your genuine, meaningful bliss. Know that no matter what happens, you shall prevail, you shall rise. So, Kutuhala is Sanskrit, and it translates into that which excites wonder. So you're really being guided to find that. And the shadow side of this pursuit can sometimes lead us to think that, making comparisons and sort of saying, well, the grass is greener over there, and fear can come up and avoidance can come up. And it's interesting because there is a message here to suggest that use your devotion to yourself to create a foundation, not comparison. Don't use comparison to create a foundation here. If you've been sort of comparing yourself to others and feeling less than, that just clips your own wings. And so you're being guided to take a commitment to your own devotion that feels like very authentic to you, and to release any fear or avoidance. And to sort of never give any chance to the idea of settling or, not fully evolving. This is very interesting. Let yourself be truly excited and inspired. And it feels here like don't allow the ego to tell you that you have to struggle to get to your path and let that make you feel stuck. It's interesting. It's like there's this narrative that is going to shift here. And it's shifting in a way that's letting you being led by your heart. It's a call to action here for you to be led by your heart and for you to discover a path that seems fascinating to you so that your true nature can be encouraged to come to the surface and grow. This idea here in this card, bringing up the term karma, brings us to this idea of karma connecting you to grace and empowering you, right? The idea of cultivating positive karma in that way allows you to sort of have this sense of worth that trumps everything else that's going on. And it's this idea of being able to move towards your own empowerment and to create something positive for yourself that's also very gracious and loving. You know, it doesn't have any negative effects, if that makes any sense here. This oracle is really encouraging you to recognize that there's something practical about bringing all of these feelings to the surface. And it's actually going to bring about something unexpected and miraculous, like I was saying when I saw this Two of Wands in reverse. This is a very interesting moment for you, Taurus, where by allowing everything to come to the surface, you're really starting to understand your true self. And that you're sort of getting this message here of not allowing anything to stifle that through your own acts of comparison to others or through others comparing themselves to you. You know, it's interesting. It's like you see eye to eye with yourself, and you're being guided to move forward fearlessly into a higher state where you're really cultivating something delightful, something that you feel is fulfilling. And it's almost fulfilling this like deep sense of longing that already exists now. So it feels like 2023 is moving you closer to yourself, and that you're being guided to have this warrior outward energy where you're moving forward towards your own truth fearlessly and getting distance from things that feel like they're just not part of your personal truth. Like it just doesn't fit with you. And that's okay. You know, it feels like that's okay. Now, let's choose your final guidance card here. These readings are a little bit longer than your weekly ones because there's a lot of energy to sort of process here. Let's see. I feel like you're being reborn. Yeah, right now you are being guided to go inwards. See, you've got this sort of beautiful image here. And the card is Sanctuary. And it says, go inward. Allow yourself to slow down. Practice being instead of doing. Take time to rest and refill. You are safe. So very much a time of going inwards. You know, lots of messages here for you moving inwards. This Winter card, the Sanctuary card, the Purity card, it really does point to a time where you're doing this self-introspection to understand your experience in a different way, to create some space here for you to integrate your experiences so that your true self can speak up, you know, and you can speak your truth and feel unstuck and move to a different shoreline, even maybe not just as a metaphor, but even you might notice in 2023 that you're feeling guided to actually move locations, that your current location is not serving you. And it feels like you're going to be moving towards simplifying your life and practicing mindfulness about what narratives you say to yourself and the narratives you speak of to others about yourself. This is going to become a big theme for you. And there's also this sort of message coming through of connecting into the more spiritual realms and embracing your sensitivity instead of not allowing it to come to the surface because it might make others feel uncomfortable. There's sort of a theme about that, like to not really worry about what other people are doing or thinking about you or themselves. This is about you expressing yourself in 2023. And it feels like it's actually going to allow you to bring something to the surface that is part of your lifetime reason for being here at this time. It feels like it's a very authentic expression of yourself in 2023. And it's almost bringing you back to an innocence. You know, it's bringing you back to this part of yourself that's true and real and innocent and pure. And it's like you're not going to be afraid to express that part of yourself in 2023. Wow, what a very interesting reading for you, Taurus. I'm going to leave it at that. I hope this reading's been helpful. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm sending you so much love and light, my friends. Happy New Year. And I look forward to reading for you again soon. Take care.